The 2007 Volkswagen B6 Passat Wagon is one of the best family cars out there. The front and rear leather seats will cushion you nicely. The spacious area in the rear can carry almost everything you need. The rear seats have ample headroom and can fit full-size adults front and back. If I had a family of 4 and went on a camping trip, it would be perfect for that. But I'm not. So how good is it for a college kid to own? The 35.8 cubic feet of cargo space is larger than a brand new Chevy Equinox when the seats are folded up, and when you fold them down, it increases to a whopping 63.9 cubic feet. But what good is that when you don't have kids or very much to carry? At a curb weight of near 4,000 pounds, you're not going to be carving up any mountain roads anytime soon, but the 3.6-liter dual overhead cam VR6 does give it substantial power to merge on the highway with ease. And that's where the Passat shines. Being a full-size wagon means that the interior is large and spacious. When fully spec'd out, the leather seats and steering wheel give you nice surfaces to touch. Now, it's still a Volkswagen and not an Audi, so there's plenty of cheap-looking plastic and fake wood trim. But with an MSRP of $33,000, it comes in under 10 grand less than a similar Audi, and a base model Audi at that. So why the Volkswagen Passat? For the long-distance highway cruises that you want to get 25 miles per gallon going 85, or when you need to haul 2 kayaks for you and a friend. When you're moving apartment and need to carry a couch in the back, the Passat will tackle all of that with ease and in comfort. Under the hood of the Passat is the EA390, a 3.6-liter dual overhead cam, 24-valve, 10.6-degree VR6. Look at the angle of the injector cables. It's like they took an inline 6 and squeezed it together. Ignore the V6 badge, it's more of an inline than anything. Dual overhead cam, 2 cams, 1 head for all 6 cylinders, producing 276 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque at 6,200 RPM. The Passat wagon is good for a 6.5 second 0 to 60, and the gas mileage is not that great. Combined at 19, I found that 25 was a possibility on the highway, but VW listed at 16 city. That's the same as a Honda Odyssey, and an Odyssey can carry more, but the Passat is still a sedan-based architecture and will outhandle an Odyssey and most other SUVs. But is the VR6 really needed in the Passat? Looking into the engine bay, there's plenty of room in there for it, and they already fit a 3.2 VR6 in a Golf, so the compact engine isn't necessary. But Volkswagen had to be different. Pushing similar horsepower to the previous 4-liter W8 in the last generation of Passat, the VR6 is in another league of reliability compared to it. But timing chain issues and other electronic problems with expensive fixes takes it out of Japanese reliability territory. The engine is a curious bit of engineering that at the end of the day did big things for small cars like the Golf, but did little for the large Passat compared to more contemporary V6s. But it does sound surprisingly good. Hopping into the driver's seat of the Passat, you will find ample room for your legs. Look at the visibility here. You can see everything from the driver's seat with a quick glance backwards. No pesky large C-pillars getting in the way. Spending some time in here, you can find 3-dial dual-zone climate control, heated leather seats, no crappy early 2000 screens, power seats that can adjust lumbar support, a good-sized glove box and center console, 2 cup holders in the center, a shift lever giving you sport mode and a manual mode, and light-up gauges and buttons. All of this combines together for a nice driving experience where everything you interact with feels nice. Yeah, there is some plastic around, but it's nice VW plastic, so it'll cost twice as much to fix. Sliding into the rear seats, you find similar headroom to the front because wagon. Fitting my 6'2" frame is easy and comfortable back here. No heated rear seats, but they do have their own climate vents. You have sunshades in the middle and a singular cigarette lighter. But I rarely have the seats up. Because when you fold down the rear seats, you open up the cavern that is the back of the Passat wagon. So what can it carry? Well, anything that can fit into a 60 by 32 by 40 inch box. Coffee tables, moving boxes, 4 tires with ease, the pieces to a couch, a kayak if you leave it open a bit. You don't need to think when you put anything back here like a trunk. Just open up the power hatch and throw in what you want. The Passat B6 design was led by Robert Lesnick. He would later on become the designer for the C, E, and S-Class Mercedes in the 2010s along with the AMG GT. His first car with VW was the B6 Passat, and for the first time, he did a mighty fine job. The large now blacked out grille in the front of the car is similar to the Jetta and Golf GTI the same year, just a bit larger. Look how the final 4 inches to the ground is all black plastic. It makes the car look taller, almost as if it was lifted from factory. There's an unbroken line all the way from the headlight to the back of the third window. A thin line of blacked out chrome stretches from the front door all the way to the rear one. The three pieces of trim are all at the same level, even back to the piece on the rear hatch. In the rear, the back window wraps further around than the lower section, maximizing how large it can be, thus giving even more visibility. The dual exit exhaust in the rear is the easy way to spot a 3.6 from a 2.0T or diesel model that usually have either single or dual exhausts. From the factory, it comes with 10-spoke 17-inch wheels that are wrapped in 235/45/17 tires, giving it the grip it needs in any weather condition. But I've replaced mine with a set of stock Audi wheels. Now let's bring it back to the beginning and let me tell you the Christmas tale of the Passat. 1973, and the Passat was just released as the Dasher. It shared the Volkswagen Group B1 platform with the B1 Audi 80. Offered in a 2-door, 4-door, 5-door hatch, and wagon configurations, the engines were mainly small displacement diesel or gas, single overhead cam, 4 cylinders. The B2 Passat was launched in 1980 and was made on the new B2 platform along with the second generation Audi 80. Sold in hatchback, sedan, and wagon variation, it retains most of the same engines as the B1, but gained the inline 5 from Audi's lineup for some increased horsepower. The B3 and B4 Passat shared the same platform, designed and built by just Volkswagen with no Audi. In 1990, the B3 had the first fuel-injected engines and had an all-wheel drive option sold as a sedan or a wagon. In 1995, the B4 facelift came out and the first VR6 engine was available in it. A 2.8-liter VR6 making 172 horsepower. Along with the VR6, there were various safety upgrades to modernize the B4. The new 1998 B5 Passat went back to a Volkswagen Audi shared platform. Named the PL45, it was shared with the Audi A4 and S4. It came in the same 2.8-liter VR6 engine as the B4, along with the new 5-speed automatic transmission. The B5.5 Passat was a facelift in 2001 and was offered with the exotic W8 engine, a combination of two VR4 engines sharing a crankshaft. And finally, the B6 Passat was released at the Geneva Motor Show in 2005, having an all-new platform built by Volkswagen. It was larger and had more power standard than before, with a 200 horsepower turbo inline-4 or the 280 horsepower VR6. New features included bucket seats, a hull-deck space all-wheel drive system, standard ABS, stability control, and dual-zone climate control. Sold as both a wagon and a sedan, there are a couple different variations of the B6 Passat. The Passat CC is a 4-door coupe version, and the R36 is a special version of the Passat only sold in certain markets. One of the few cars in Volkswagen's R line, it has a different version of the 3.6 along with the DSG and different looking body. So my car here is the closest you can get to an R36 in the United States. The B6 generation ended in 2010 when the B7 was released as a facelift of the B6 Passat. The facelift included a new look and an entirely new interior. A new variation called the All-Track was fitted with more ground clearance and a special 4Motion off-road mode. In 2015, they released the B8 Passat based on the Volkswagen Audi Group MQB platform, and the first plug-in hybrid Passat named the GTE was offered along with an updated All-Track version. And in 2022, 15 years off the production line and 2 generations further, I found myself with the B6 Passat that I quite enjoy. So what can we learn from the history of this car? It's that technology will creep on us whether we like it or not. I like how my car has no touchscreen or screen at all. I don't think I'd like a big display in my car because it would be too distracting and more electronics to break. But somebody probably said the same about an all-wheel drive system. Some B2 Passat owner would look at the new B3 Passat and say, an all-wheel drive system is too complex and all you need is some good snow tires and skill. And now all-wheel drive is available in almost all modern cars and is cheap and reliable. As technology advances, you find yourself taking the old stuff for granted and hating everything that is new. But just like all technology, it needs to adapt and evolve. When I was a child, my parents drove a B5 Passat wagon that I have fond memories of camping with. In fact, the roof rails and box that I'm using came off of that Passat. Loading up 3 kids, tents, supplies, and food was no problem for that car. But my back seats are empty 90% of the time. Someday I'll have a family and would very much like to own a wagon then. Loading up everyone in the wagon on Christmas to go to relatives to come back loaded with gifts. A weekend-long road trip with suitcases in the back and more in the roof box. Taking a trip to the lake to go kayaking. Just going off what condition it's in and how many miles are on my Passat, I'd say I'm in it for the long haul. It's still sub 100,000 and I'm hoping to add many more. The Passat also fulfills my driving needs in a sporty way. Now, I'm not saying it's as fast or as handles as good as a sports car, but for its size and weight, it is a lot of fun to drive. place it in sport mode to tighten up the shift, and then it can try as best as a torque converter automatic can to try to shift quickly. I used to not like the color of it, and my mom and dad both own silver cars, and I always wanted to be a little bit different. But after driving a winter in Wisconsin, I now appreciate how it tends not to look as dirty as black or red. Looking into the market, the number of options for people and stuff haulers is large. There are hundreds of other cars that can do what the Passat does. Any SUV will be as practical, or if not more. A more refined BMW or Mercedes will offer a better ride, but a wagon is a unique vehicle here in America. As it's mainly a European thing, most wagons available over there are not available here, so the ones we do get are idolized over the sedan variant. But I did leave out one part of the history. There is a B9 Passat, but it's built entirely off the Skoda Superb, and it's available in a wagon-only version and exclusively sold in Europe. It shares little with the previous cars and is related entirely in name. I drive my own car now with the knowledge of the history behind and ahead of it. I see how it stands as a testament to advancing technology, 48 years of the Passat changing with the times. From the carbureted front-wheel drive B1 Dasher all the way to the R36 all-wheel drive VR6 sports sedan. The Passat became a victim of its own advancements. As the market shifted to larger and larger SUVs, the Passat made the final evolution and was canceled by VW in order to make more SUVs and electric cars. Technology caught up with this German icon as the last B8 Passat left the production line in December of 2021.